Hey guys, Rocky here. Just another quick video. Just wanted to give you the heads up on what's going on and all that sort of thing. Just finished my usual routine there with trying to bring the BS level down, and now I'm going to look at some stuff here that's up and coming. I decided once and for all that if I was going to do anything with guitars, that I probably should get at it really quick, considering that it takes time to build stuff, and if I want to sell something, I've got to have product. Can't put up any kind of websites or anything specifying we'll sell products if you don't have the products there to meet the demand. Although who knows, there may not be any demand, but if there is, you got to be prepared, right? So I went out yesterday and I picked up a piece of poplar. I think it's yellow poplar, if I remember right, not popular, poplar. I picked up this piece here that is about 4.5 feet long. Which is probably big enough for 3 guitars. I measured out 3 different styles of guitars I have inside and added that together to see what I'd need for running length, and I've got enough for 3 guitars. I happened to find this piece here that was wide enough to be able to do a one-piece body without having to do any splicing. 17 wide, so that's wide enough for any of the 3 styles that I'm looking at. Those are anywhere from 13.25 to 13.5 wide, so this is plenty wide enough. A little bit of room for whatever on the edges. I'll cut from the good side here. We do have a little bit of an issue here, so I'll cut from this side over here, and that will leave me with probably maybe even enough to make some necks. I don't know what poplar necks are like, but I would have probably enough left to do some necks. The one thing about this piece of wood, I picked it because of the width for one thing, and I also was looking for poplar, so I got lucky that I found that piece there that wide. I didn't see much of anything else there that wide, so since this was poplar and the right width, it was perfect. There was a piece there that was probably twice as long as this, probably 10 to 12 feet, maybe even a little more than that, I'm not sure. It was a pretty long piece. One thing I noticed when I saw this piece and flipped it over and looked at the back side is it does have some interesting marks on it, so I figured, well, maybe that would make a nice finish. So, but then when I got it home and had it sitting here for a little while and came back and took another look at it, I started noticing, you can probably see that, I thought somebody had driven some nails in it, and I thought, well, crap, they drove nails in it. Now I either got to countersink those nails so they're out of the way, or I've got to find out how far in they are in and pull them out or something. And I got questioned whether or not maybe I might have to take it back. I thought at first I'd take something and see if I could find out just how far in they were, give them a tap. So I took something, tried tapping it in. I think it was the end of a screw or something. Pardon me. And it seemed soft, and it didn't seem to drive in because the screw just more or less pressed on the metal and squished it out. So I thought, well, that's awful soft. What is that? So then I started picking at it, and I picked one out here. 2. There's 2 I picked out. I picked out 3. I think I picked out one there was 4. Might have got one there, and of course this one here. So this is what we have. Once I picked it out and saw this and realized how soft it is, I began to realize that what it is someone hit it with a shotgun blast. That's bird shot. It's what you would use to hunt partridge or pheasant or turkey or whatever it may be, depending on where you are. But that's bird shot. Somebody had shot the side of this tree with their shotgun, and some of the bird shot's still embedded in there. Of course, the saw, when they cut through kind of cross section and more or less cut it in half, those pellets would be probably double that size. That's half the thickness of a shot from a shotgun shell. So yeah, it's not a big concern. I picked that one out, picked these ones out. I've got one here. I'm going to finish picking that out, and I've got one here. I'll finish picking that out, and then that's clean. And this is thick enough that I'm going to probably go over it once and give it a skim on each side anyway with the planer. Once I clean everything up here, I've got quite a mess from the last time I worked. I didn't do a very good job of cleaning up. So what I'll do is I'll skim each side of that, make sure it's good, and then of course it'll be nicely level sanded afterwards with the proper methods before I turn it into guitar bodies. But I plan on making 3 guitars out of this. Probably another Telecaster, considering a Strat, and maybe another Gibson LP type guitar, but maybe a little slightly modified. The next thing I've got to do, of course, is get to the point where I'm building my own neck. So I had ordered a truss rod, and I'd started my neck, as you'd seen in a few other videos. And when my truss rod got here, I intended on finishing this neck up as proof of concept. You know, get it on a guitar, put the frets in it, level it out, get everything nice the way it should be, see how it plays. Even made my own bone nut, which I'm going to have to thin down a little bit, as I mentioned in another video. But since I was able to get that far, I figured if I can put this together as proof of concept and it works good, then what I'll do is I'll start making my own necks. And that way, when I tell somebody they're getting a custom guitar, they're actually getting a custom guitar, completely hand built from, you know, neck to the body, with exception of the hardware, of course. So I figured while I was there, I might as well look and see what they had for materials that I could use to make a neck. And of course, maple was the first prospect. So I asked them what they had for maple. I asked them if they had any 4x4s there, and they did had some 4x4 maples, but you know, I'm plenty long enough for making a neck. But the problem was the price was really high. It was 100 some odd bucks. They were finished products. So 4x4, they were finished planed and sanded and smoothed out and beveled and everything for fence posts or something. You know, fancy fence, like not fence post, more like deck posts for making decking and stuff like that. But that was too much money, so I asked them, you know, I'd seen a piece before that I thought was maple. I didn't know what the price was, but I figured it had to be a lot cheaper than that. So I pointed it out to them, and I asked them how much that was, and the price was pretty reasonable. So I got this piece that's long enough for a neck. So in fact, it might be enough. It was enough there for 2 necks, maybe 3, but definitely 2 necks for sure. I got it 27 inches long. I think 26 1/4 is what I need. This should be plenty long enough. It's longer than this one because this one was measured off the Jagmaster that I had here, which had a shorter neck than what the Telecasters have. So that's the Telecaster neck is actually that much longer than the Jagmaster. So yeah, so there's enough there, as you can see, probably width-wise. That's 1, 2, at least 3, with what looks like maybe a little more wood left, which could be potentially used as a if I wanted to make an actual separate fingerboard to put on. Ideally, where it's maple and I want a maple fingerboard, it's probably best just to use this, get it to the right width, get it to the right thickness, get it to the right shape, and just have it one piece. So I do have a guitar in there, maybe more than one, but at least one that has a one-piece neck where it doesn't have an actual glued-on fingerboard, fretboard. That's part of the whole assembly, and it's just notched for the like this one here for the frets. Pardon me. But yeah, so I've got to get on the building soon. I think one of the things I need to do probably before I do anything, well, there's a toss-up between 1 or 2 things. Cut this down to the right sizes for the 3 different guitars. And of course, you can see, look at here too. Just to change the subject for a second, you got a little bit of figuration here in the wood. I'm not sure. It almost looks like 3-piece wood, but it's not. You know, it looks like right here, like you got 1 piece, 2 piece, 3, but it's not. It's one solid. That's the center of the tree right there, I would assume, the core. And so yeah, I think that that's actually going to work out pretty good. I'll cut that into 3 pieces. Now that's one thing that's pretty easy to do. I might do that right away, or I might hold off. I'm not sure. But I would say probably the next thing that I need to do before building anything is to finish this guy up, because I can't do necks until I know for sure that I've got a proof of concept that works. This one is so close to being finished that I probably should finish it out, put it back on the Jagmaster in replacement of the Jagmaster neck that came with the Jagmaster itself, and see if I can actually get it set up. But that means I got to get a truss rod in here. So that means I've got to make a truss rod, because I ordered one and waited when the package came. The truss rod had fallen out and there was nothing but an Allen key in there, so I don't want to go through that. I mean, it took like probably 2 months to get the package that it was supposedly in, and the company offered me a refund, and it was only like $6 or $7. I didn't even want to go through that hassle. I just kind of ignored it for now. But so yeah, so I have an idea how to make a truss rod. I actually do have a steel rod here, 3/32, I think, which is a little bigger than 1/8, which should be plenty big enough. It's not threaded yet, which means the rod itself is strong. It won't twist off easy. And what I can do is I can thread the end where the nut's going to go on once it's in place. Thread the end of the rod once it's in there. Cut the relief hole in here so I can get to it. Put a castle nut on top, probably screw or drill the top of the castle nut out so the rod can actually come through it. I'll thread the end of the rod probably about that much, which is way more than enough. Of course, once it's in there, I'll probably put it in through the back and put a skunk stripe on here instead of going underneath the fingerboard, because I don't want any pressure up on the fingerboard. I don't want to be pushing it off. So if it's against the, if this is channeled out and it's against the raw wood inside, it can't do any harm to this. There'll be more pressure on the neck itself, which will help it to be more effective. And then, like I say, I'll thread it, I'll get it notched, I'll drop it in, put the nut on it. I'll have to make sure that I put some kind of a little plate or something on, or a washer or something, so that when the nut tightens down, it just doesn't bite into the wood. It actually has something to go against. Same on this end down here, wherever it lands up. It's got to also have a nut or something on there that's got to be welded on so it can't move, or made in such a shape that it can't move. Ideally, actually, no, I think it would actually have to be welded. It's got to be welded on, because if it's not welded on, it goes down through the nut, or goes down through the washer down here, and you start cranking here, it's just got to pull it up, and it's not going to do anything. So it has to be solidly mounted to the washer that goes in here, which means a little bit of welding, which is not a big deal. Minor welding, very minor. Make sure it's solid. I could do some other elaborate thing too, like maybe thread this up a little ways, put a nut on, put the washer or whatever it is on there, and put it on there, tighten it down so it can't move, and then put something on there to thread lock or something. But that's, probably be easier to tack weld it so it doesn't do anything. The only thing is, then of course, there's always the possibility that it might snap, but just have to make sure it's welded good. Once that's in place, and I know that I can actually, what I'll do is I'll actually test it before I put the skunk stripe back in. Piece of wood in here, press it down in so it's nice and tight, and then do this sanding and everything so it's smooth, properly shaped. Have it a different color just so that it's some contrast there. It looks cool. What I'll do before I put that skunk stripe in is I'll make sure that this is in here, the truss rod is in here, and that I can adjust it, and I can actually use my ruler to see if I'm getting any bowing of the neck. The strings are supposed to pull it this way, but the truss rod, I should be able to actually straighten it out with the truss rod to get to get it to the proper bend or bow in it. They're supposed to be bowed a little bit. Supposed to be bowed a little bit this way. That's exaggeration, not that much, but it is supposed to dip a little bit in the middle, or a little bit off in the middle. I think more right here. It's supposed to dip a little bit for better action, playability, and stuff like that. But yeah, I have to make sure the truss rod works, and once I'm comfortable and I know the truss rod works and it's not going to come apart, I'll put the piece in, the wood in here to hold it. Then I've got a neck that I can actually, actually go ahead and put the frets in, and then I can use my ruler to properly put this on a guitar, put strings on it, set it up, use a ruler to check the, what the bow is in the neck, if there is any or not, and then go ahead and use the ruler, or use the truss rod to make adjustments, and see how it works out. If this comes out, I put a truss rod in, it works out, and it's easy to make a truss rod, then I'll go ahead and I'll make, 2 or 3 more necks out of that if I can. Only problem about making the necks, if you want to turn the guitar around quick and get your product out there fast, the building the neck does take time. That means I have to hustle, and I don't want to be doing this stuff in a big rush. So maybe what I'll do is I'll order my next 2 necks, cheap ones like I did initially for the one I've got right now in the house, the Black Telecaster 72 Deluxe knockoff. It worked out really well. The neck was crap when I got it, just because there were high frets all over the place, but I took the time to level everything out and polish and crown and all that stuff, and it worked out really, really, really well. I mean, it came up really good. That guitar has extremely good playability. So I might buy a couple of more $40 necks just to jumpstart and get a couple more guitars out there. I do want to test the waters right away. I'll probably, even though I really kind of reluctant to try to sell the black one I just made, because it came up really, really nice. I'm going to keep my gold top. I'll call it gold top, but it's not really a gold top, but my Gibson, because the paint quality is a little less than a quality finish, because I wasn't quite sure what I was doing. The dry time, I didn't let it dry long enough when I had the paint on before putting clear coat on, so it's, even though it looks half decent, it is not an extremely high quality finish. So I'm probably going to keep that one and use that to practice my pinstriping and stuff on. I think I've got an idea for some pinstriping on that. That needs something to bring it out a little more anyway, because right now with the paint on it all the way around it, the same color paint, it doesn't have any definition to the outline of the guitar. Like, you know, like if you were to put binding on, you know, like how they put binding on the Gibsons and stuff like that, it sort of just outlines the guitar and brings out the actual body and stuff and makes it more noticeable. I think that I'm going to do something similar to that, but I'm not going to strip it down and put binding on it because it's already painted. But what I can do is I can take, I've got one of those MAC paintbrushes I've been wanting for a long time. I've got one. I think they call it a sword. I think it's a double aught 1 or double aught 10. I'm not sure, I forget what it is, but it's a nice little brush, short handle. The brush itself is about that long, the hairs. And I want to start practicing pinstriping, because if I'm going to do any custom type guitars, I need to be able to do some kind of custom graphics. I mean, I could, you know, just get decals and different things, put them on there and spray over them and all that, but I want to get some way to do custom graphics. And if somebody says, hey, I want this, I want that, I like this, I like that, can you replicate that? I want to be able to try to replicate, you know, something. I think that just adds a little more value to the product. Pardon me. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with the, like I said, I'm going to start with probably the back of the Gibson style guitar I just did, the one with the gold sparkles, glitter paint job. I'll start with that one, and I think it's a toss-up between, you know, I've got black, I've got yellow, I've got white, I've got red, I've got some silver marine paint. I'm sort of, right now in my mind, I'm sort of thinking black and yellow might be the best colors to use on the guitar because of the color of the guitar itself, which is just kind of a gold sparkle. I'm not really sure. I've seen pictures of Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top, the Les Paul that he has, and the one that's I think signature guitar for him. It's got some. He's got a gold top that's actually a signature model for him, and he's got his personal one as well that was pinstriped, and the pinstriping on the gold top was a light color. I'm not sure if it was white or an off-white or something, but it's pretty cool. But I don't think I want to go quite that route. I think I want to go a little more elaborate. I think I might copy that pattern on the inside and maybe with the yellow, and outline it on the outside with the black, the body, almost as if it's were a binding, but not all the way to the edge. I may